start sketching out some ideas. As I'm showing you things, if you have something come to your mind, jump on that. Okay? So we're going to start with a round one first. And I started this the other day. I started this one today. And this is leather hard. This is a soft leather hard. And you can kind of start to see how we're kind of pushing that along and some of the things we can do to it. This one's going to be easy. I'm going to just show you quickly how to do it because it's not that far off from making our mugs. Okay? So we'll do that. I swear I did one with a footprint. Oh, I did. This was kind of a freeform organic. That's somebody's shoe print right there. So she lifted her foot up right here and I threw the clay against it. It's pretty sweet. We'll leave that out for a minute. It's got to start hardening. And then we'll do some dwellings. And again, we started working on these. This is starting to dry up. Has texture on the back. Started to carve some leaves into it. One of the things about carving, I don't want to carve really close because those little tiny thin strips of clay are going to dry and they're going to break. So we want to keep probably 3/8 of an inch away from our carving at this stage in our ceramic career. So I'm not going to carve this leaf right next to it. I'll paint that, and do a couple of other things there. They need to have bottoms on them. They don't have to, I don't have a bottom on there yet. They don't have to be attached. So like this one of the kids' first period drew that. Okay, so we're starting to create this based off of that. And it has a little plate for it to sit on. Okay, the candle will go there or the light will go there. This will sit on there. It'll never be sealed together. So you can always pull this straight off. Okay, you choose how this works. You either have to have a hole for the light or a way for the light to get into the piece. I've ordered a whole bunch of tea lights with a little flame on top that's a little LED. You can have one of those. If you want a different light source, you can come up with that all on your own. So. All right, so we're going to set this back. So we're going to start with a round one. And the way I do this is I just take a piece of paper and I'm folding it down. That's 6 inches tall. Okay, so if I had a roof, it'll be 7, 7.5, which is right in my range. And that should be good. Also, I know when I wrap this around, it's not going to be tiny. Okay, I'll be able to put a light in there. But I do have this. Can I get 4 people to volunteer to draw me, 2 people to draw me some sort of a house or dwelling? Okay, there's 1. And 2 people to draw me some sort of an organic shape. Nice. 2 more. What are you doing?
The house.
Okay. Organic shape. Yeah. Now, someone from this table. Oh, there we go. The paper speaks. You can. You'll be fine. I'm going to be hanging out here, so you can just sit there.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to throw out enough clay to do this. Grab our bagged clay. And I'm going to throw in a decent amount because we have a bunch of things we need to do today. And 10 less minutes. Like that. This is not. All right. Wake that up, clean off your area. I like textures. I like random textures. I like things that happen just not on purpose. And so for me, getting some of this line that I'm throwing it down on is not going to bother me. It may bother you, so you'd have to work around that. I love the layers that textures give me. All right, I'm done. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to take my measuring stick, and the first one I'm going to cut inward, just like we did on the other. Just cut that in. I'm going to cut this flat on the bottom or top. Oh, I'm going to stop right there for a second. I have a little bit of texture on there, but I'm going to add some more. Over here on the cart, we have a whole bunch of random textures. We'll do that one, and that one, and that one, and we need a roller. And you can kind of play with these. So the rolling ones, just push on there, creates a texture, like so. We're going to do a little love with a heart next to it, just lightly. Oh, that's going to be adorable. And that in the middle. And that's that. You can be more specific. You can make textures for like wood paneling and other things like that. That may help us get somewhere else. I'm going to come over here. Cutting this at an angle doesn't matter where it's at, because it's just going to be a random circle. Okay. With the cylinders, with the mugs that we made, they needed to be exactly the end of that paper, because when we wrapped them, they needed to have a flat bottom and a flat top. This is going to be flat no matter what. So I'm just going to put it there. Cut that at an angle, cut the top. All right, set that aside. And then I'm just going to score this. Now you can use your rakes, which are great. You have those. There are some of these serrated ribs around. There's only like 3 or 4 floating around. Either one's fine. I like the serrated ribs because I can just hurry and do that. They don't work for every situation. And then we're going to add a little bit of slip. And then we're going to put it together. Now my thickness on my clay is going to be about 1.5 of these measuring sticks. I don't want to go too thick, but I don't want it to be too thin. So it's going to be a little bit thicker than what we did our mugs, just because we want to be able to hold our form or shape, which then brings me to this. I don't cut any of my holes out until it's leather hard. If you cut them out and then try to put this together, it's going to want to slump or fall apart or crack sooner. So I'm going to let it get to leather hard, then come in and cut out the holes. We'll do some cutting at the end of class, hopefully. If not, we'll do some on Tuesday. Okay, grab my wooden knife. Now I get to decide, is this going to be round or is this going to be oval? So help me decide, round or oval?
Oval.
Okay, I got 2 answers. Who's going to win?
Oval.
Oval.
It's fine.
Okay, oval is just, you're just gonna put it into an oval shape. Round, you would just grab your truer and true it out. Okay, what side am I at? And I'm gonna flip it. Well, let's talk about a tray. A tray could be just put on there, or you could cut out a little groove for it. It doesn't matter to me. If you're gonna put some sort of a this is a good example. So some sort of legs on, I would recommend making a tray, because as soon as you put those legs on, your piece on top isn't going to be able to support, or those legs aren't going to be able to support the piece on top, at least with how fast we're working in 3 days. There are ways to fix that problem, but if you make it as a tray, you can put them separate. And with that tray, you can also have a place for your light to go. I think this is what I was looking for. Nope, that is not. I was hoping my tea lights would come today so I could measure. When you make a hole for the tea lights, they need to be about 15 to 18% bigger than the tea light, because it's going to actually shrink 13% from when we make it to when it's all the way fired. So if you cut it exact, it won't fit. So we've got to make sure we cut it bigger. I wanted some of those to check that, but it'll be okay. All right, so let's make a tray. So on this one, I'm just going to come in here, and the tray can be bigger, it can be square, it could be circular, whatever you want. So we're just going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm just going to roll around that. Now if I put feet on it, I'm not going to put my project on here. If I don't put feet on it, you can just leave your project on there. We can come in and clean that up. And then you can pull this on and off as you see fit. A little trick for you, make your life a little easier. As you're working, if you put your project on a board, it'll allow you to move it and turn it without having to pick up your project. Sometimes I forget that, and then I'm like squeezing my project. I'm like, if I just put this on a board, my life would be just a little bit better. All right, we're gonna put a top on this. Now, this top is attached. I need to clean it up a little bit, and it's a dome. It could be a flat top. It could be an architectural top. You tell me what you want to do, and you can probably accomplish this. So we're just gonna do a slightly round top, and all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna guess. Just for the good old oval. Like that. I can leave it like that. As it gets leather hard, I can clean that up. I could come in here and bend it in just a little bit, which is what I want to do, and then we'll talk about what we can do later. Super simple, right? The making of this, you already understand the concepts. Any questions so far? Cool. All right, who has one of the dwellings? the houses. Okay, that's a good one. Where's the other one? Johnny, you got the house?
Well, I was gonna build a roof, but I got some building house.
Okay, both of you bring them over, or you get your roof on. Sergio, we bring that over. Nice. Okay, so these are good. And as we start, there's a lot of good things happening. There are different ways to make houses, or sorry, to make roofs. You can make it and set it. You can do the outline. I'm gonna do the outline on this one, and it's gonna look like this. So I'm gonna come up and come out and come down. The whole outline is what I'm gonna cut out. I'm not gonna cut it into two pieces. It's not gonna be a box and a triangle. It's gonna be the whole thing together. So I'll show you that. Super interesting, right? No, but here's the thing for me, and again, you can do your own thing. I love these things. I love them. I love the texture that comes from these half-wedged pieces. In fact, I've done a whole plate set where I just half-wedged it, threw it out, cut out plates, and I have all these little tiny creases in them. I think they're awesome. But I get excited about weird stuff. So. Okay, so we've got this. That should be enough. And I'm going to take some sort of a paintbrush. Actually, I want this one. A paintbrush. You can use a dull pencil. You can use a mechanical pencil without the lead. And all I'm going to do is trace this straight down. Come up here. Straight down. If I want to, I could come in here and trace some of where I want my things to be. They may or may not end up there. Okay, so I got the outline, and then I'm going to cut it. So I'm just going to cut this straight down, straight across. Okay, and put some texture on that side. So I have some texture here. I have some texture here. I've got to flip my texture so they're pointed towards each other. Okay, that way when I cut it and flip them back out, I can point them both outwards. All right, so they're pointed towards each other. So when we flip them, they're pointed both outwards. Okay, that's important. And then we're going to set them there. Wedge this up again. And I'm going to make the walls. Now, I make my walls 2 of my measuring sticks thick just for convenience. I don't go 1 because I'm not going to be able to fit the light in there if it's not big enough. And I don't usually go 3 because it's just a little bit too much for this size of a project. But I just take 2 sticks like this and put them together. So I'm going to throw this out. But if you want all these to go away, you should wedge it up about 40 times. Should be a good solid wedge. If it's not going away as you're working with it, you can add water to them. I'm not going to. I like working with a little bit stiffer clay. But you can add water and it'll press itself. Just a little bit. All right, let's put these together. And I'm gonna cut an angle in. Okay, so it's gonna taper inside. It's gonna taper in both ways. In there. In there. And we got ourselves a nice little tapered wall. Okay, set that there. You could be a little bit more precise and cut these so that there's a spot for the bottom and whatever, but we're going to throw this out for the roof and the bottom. I'm going to cut these at an angle, so just my sides there and there, so it's tapered inward. Set that there. Come here, do the same thing. They're a lot quieter than the last class. They were a little chatty. When I put a video online for people who aren't here, I usually try to pick the one that I feel like I conveyed the information the best. And they were hoping it was theirs, and then they kind of came to the conclusion that it probably wasn't theirs because they started talking about just random stuff that had nothing to do with anything, honestly. So we're gonna line these up. Just gonna cut that straight-ish. I come here and I'm gonna line this up. And then cut that. Line this up. Cut that. And there's my two walls. We'll put a different top on in a second, I'll show you that. Just add a little bit of slit there, a little bit of slit there. Do this one first. And it's important, at least mostly important, that you put a coil in here. And it can be a pretty small coil. If your coils start to crack, you can take your spray bottle and just get them fairly wet. And then just push them right into that crack. My philosophy on how clean this needs to look is if I'm gonna be able to see it, I wanna make it look nice. If I don't see it, I wanna make it function. You can make it look nice as well. There are plenty of artists out there who spend a lot of time on things that no one will ever see. And that's perfectly fine. That's them, and they like things the way they like things. I have a face sculpture as a self-portrait. I think it's here somewhere. Maybe it's in my house. And when I do portraits, a lot of times you make them solid and then you cut them in half and you hollow them out. And on this portrait, when I hollowed it out, I wrote a message. And I think it says something like, if you're reading this, you must be clumsy. So I think that's what I wrote. So, if you didn't catch that, it's because they broke it, right? Now with the utilization of small cameras, I could probably go and read it. Maybe I'll try that, find a small camera and put it up there. All right, we've got that. I'm gonna flip this over. It's gonna land right there. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of sagging here, okay? And if we get some sagging, all I'm gonna do is bring another piece of clay in there and throw it in there for a second. Should be about the same size. so it doesn't sag too much. And it's not going to stay there. I'm going to pull it out in just a little bit. And this is one of the reasons why size is a big deal. If you go much bigger than this, you're going to run into some bigger problems. So we want to keep it smaller. Now let's talk real quick about time frame. So the first day, you start on this Thursday. If you're doing hand building first and not the wheel, you're going to start on this. And while this is down, I'm just going to come here and score the bottom. Make my life a little easier here in a second. So Thursday you're going to start. Monday, so you're going to get your thing built. It should be pretty close to being built next Thursday. Monday, you're going to clean it up, embellish it, maybe draw some stuff on there, start to paint it a little bit, and then Wednesday, you're going to finish up by cleaning up, cutting holes, and finish painting it. And that's how the 3-day project-ish should work. If you're on your second day and you're thinking, this is going to take me another 3 days, you picked a project that was too big or elaborate for what we're doing. And if you didn't have sketches, you should have. So on Tuesday for you, at the bottom of your sheet, it says make 5 sketches of projects, different projects. You need to have those. I won't be here Thursday when you start this project. I'll be heading down in Moab in a conference, and if you don't have your sketches on Thursday or Tuesday, I won't be able to help guide you into the best direction for you. All right, so we've got that like so. I'm going to carefully put a bottom on. Okay, line it up. And then we're going to put a top on it. And I'm just cutting it a little bit at an angle, that glazed stop. But for this, it's not actually going to be a glazed stop because we're not putting the glaze on it. What it does, though, it puts that shadow under it, and I just like how it looks. And it's just kind of what I do. For this one, because we're not putting a glaze on it like that, you could go straight down if you wanted to. You could come out. It could be a platform. All right, we're going to measure the top and 3 inches, and these two together are just under 3 inches. We come there, yeah, just under. So I'm just going to come here and cut one side, and I'm just going to move my stick out just a little bit and cut the other side. And then when I put it on there, it should fit with just a tiny bit of overlap. Thank you. Jordan. All right. So come in here. Measure that and then add a little bit. And score and slip anything that's going to touch. Or there. And add slip. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have to have a roof. It can be flat. It can be a square. You choose those things. If I'm going to put shingles on, I usually carve them in. But you could put them on if you want. But you need to do that when it's leather hard. That one's going to go on there. I'll clean this up later. But I'm going to taper it in so it just bows out a little bit. Maybe that'll look all right. Okay, score that. Any what ifs, could I's, what abouts? What time do we have? 20 minutes? Put a little ridge cap on here. I could come in quickly and draw some shingles. There's other types of shingles. Get the basic form going, then you can come in later, clean that up, smooth that out, add some to it, whatever works for you. Okay, that's a basic dwelling or house. Okay, so that's an option. Let that get leather hard, come in and cut some stuff. Wow, we got the whole scene. There's a whole bunch of stuff going over there. Anyone else draw one? Let's see what you got. Oh, you did great.
So beautiful.
Oh yeah, there's some fun stuff
Why
happening.
be impossible like this?
So let's talk about cones for a second, which would be a great free form. Because there's a bunch of ways we could do that. Let me grab some new clay. And then I'm going to cut a few things open so you can see how to do that. So with this, does anyone know how to make a cone from a piece of paper? I saw one head nodding. Anyone else? Okay, I'll do a small version of sort of what you just showed me there. So you're going to take something round. I had some tape up here. Anyone see some tape? And this is not big enough for the project. Maybe it is. I don't know. And we're going to take this and cut a circle.
Did you just use the spray bottle?
The what?
The spray bottle?
Oh, sure. Except for it's smaller. And technically, it's like not round. But you could use a spray bottle. You could use anything that's round. And you make your circles. Set that over there. And you're going to cut these. And as you cut them, in the middle here, you cut a little tiny circle. It can be bigger or littler, just depending on what you want to accomplish. And depending on the slice of pie you cut, depends on a couple of things. So if I cut a very small piece of pie there, when I wrap this into a cone, it's going to be short and wide, okay? If I cut a bigger cone, so say about a quarter of it, it's going to go up a little bit and not be as wide. Okay, and so you just got to play around with what it is you want. We're going to go there. I think that'll work, so we're going to cut the same thing there. Okay, score these and put them together. If I want a bigger hole, I could come in and cut that. And on this I might, because I want them to kind of connect. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. You gotta flip it over and do it on the other side. And slit. And we're just going to push that together. Get the basics of the shape going, clean it up later. In the sense of there's something weird happening. There's that. I don't know. You can go look for it.
Is it a green folder? Yeah, I
You're supposed to say we threw it away.
did. I'll be so mad. I'm not gonna have my math stuff.
Yeah, who needs math?
You're right.
Engineers need math. We all need math, actually. All right, so we have two cones. Again, this is pretty small, but that's the start of your project right there, right? So you put those together, and you could put a box in between them, whatever you want to do. So it works out really well. These should be bigger. So if we went bigger, I'm just gonna eyeball a circle. There's my center. Something like that. Then you can come in and create some sort of a free form, something pretty simply, like so. If you're interested in free form things, draw shapes, like some sort of a form, and we can talk about how they'll go together. This one here was just this outline, just a random outline, one on each side. I put one seam together and then split it apart with a bigger, kind of making it a cheese wedge, and then put the bottom on. So it ended up like that. We'll put some sort of a hole over here for the light, or a lid, or whatever it is we end up deciding to do with that one. Okay. Cutting stuff. So as we're doing this, there's tons of things we can do. So this one, I'm not imagining being a lantern, but more of like an accent piece. It's sitting on your nightstand on a shelf, and when the light comes on, there's only a couple of spots that illuminate. And that's perfectly okay. This is focused on the outside. One of the things I want you to be doing is thinking, when the lights are on, shining on your piece, what does it look like? When the lights are off and your piece is shining back, what is it doing? Because it should be doing both. You should be able to be like, that looks good now, and that looks good now, okay? And I imagine this being off in a field somewhere, and it's maybe a cold winter's night, and there's just a couple of lights happening. So if that's the case, so we would come in like this. I have a needle tool somewhere, like right there. Someone last class handed me another needle tool. Just like, don't lose both. And I'm just gonna draw a door in. And they have a square window. So we're gonna take an X-Acto knife. Now, I have X-Acto knives, mine is retractable. There's others that aren't. Please make sure if you borrow them, you put them back. And where do you put them back? By my desk. I keep them over there. They get thrown away easy. The knives are sharp. Please don't mess with them too much. I know you're in high school, but mostly things get thrown away in here. All right, so I cut the window for the door, okay? And for this sketch, the top is a circle. I'm not gonna put the little bars in, but I do have these little hole punches, like this. And this is kind of cool. You come up here, and you just go in and out. And now I got a little window up top. So that's kind of fun. You can also do that other ways. You can come in and just twist around your X-Acto knife. I only have these 4 or 3 hole punches. I used to have a whole bunch, and they just kind of disappeared. Your project could be patterns of holes. It could, with other stuff happening on the outside. And if you're gonna do that, make sure you leave space in between so that you don't get a lot of cracking. Take the clay out in between. Think about what you want to do from the start, but then also as you're doing stuff, you may change your mind. You might be like, oh, I kind of want to go this direction. So remember the requirements. Inside and outside, sorry, the holes and the surface have to relate somehow. And it should look nice when the lights are on, and then when the lights are off, so, and they're emitting the light. And we kind of run from there. Do you have any? The next thing I need to do with this is add the window, right? That's what's on there. So we'll do that later. Any questions? Yeah? No questions?
What's your questions? It's been good.
I feel like you can.
Well, he's just feeling conflicted because he doesn't know how to make a mouth on one of these things.